In a city where power corrupts, who can you trust when betrayal lurks in every shadow? Will love be salvation or doom? Taryer wiped the sweat off his brow as he squinted under the Lego sun, his hands deep in the guts of a broken-down black Range Rover parked awkwardly by the roadside. The scent of burning oil and engine grease was familiar, almost comforting. Just as he tightened the last bolt, a striking woman stepped out of the SUV, her sunglasses barely hiding the irritation in her eyes. "How long will this take?" she snapped. Taryer glanced up. Her aura was intimidating, her presence electric. "Just a few more minutes, madam," he said calmly. The moment their eyes met, something shifted. She studied him, his makeshift overalls, his wiry frame, the intelligence behind his calm demeanor. "Name's Zara," she offered. "You're not like the rest." Taryer gave a small smile. "Neither are you." The engine roared to life. She gave him a look, a mix of curiosity and challenge, and drove off, leaving behind nothing but dust and questions. 3 days later, Zara's face was plastered all over TV screens and newspapers. Daughter of oil magnate Chief Barcarere, reportedly kidnapped. The headline screamed. Taryer stood frozen in front of a roadside electronics shop, staring at the screen. Police believed she'd been taken against her will after a late-night party. As images of her laughing from that night flooded social media, Taryer felt a strange mix of worry and disbelief. Then came the real punch. His name was mentioned. A blurry CCTV photo showed him fixing her car. That brief interaction had made him a suspect. His heart raced as a police van drove past. He ducked into an alleyway. The streets that had once welcomed him now watched him with suspicion. The only person who might have cleared his name had vanished. And if she wasn't really kidnapped, then what was the truth? Taryer returned to his usual mechanic spot beneath the bridge in Ojalegba, but the air felt heavier now. His colleagues avoided him. "Dem say you dey run things with that big girl," one muttered. "She go don land you inside Walla." Taryer clenched his fists. Something wasn't right. The police hadn't even questioned him, just named him a suspect. As he packed his tools, he noticed two men in suits approaching from across the road. They weren't police. They looked too polished, too calculating. He didn't wait. He grabbed his satchel and slipped through a maze of alleyways. Someone was framing him, and it was working. But why? And who? With nowhere else to go, Taryer returned to the scene, the roadside where he'd repaired Zara's car. The SUV was gone, but he remembered something odd. She had insisted on checking the glove box before driving off. He retraced his steps until he found a street camera he hadn't noticed before. Maybe it caught something. He found the nearby electronics shop again and struck a deal with the owner, trading hours of unpaid labor for a glimpse at the footage. What he saw made his stomach drop. Before driving off, Zara had placed a small envelope in the glove box, then looked around nervously. He needed to find that car. If it hadn't been destroyed, maybe it held the answers. Just before dawn, Taryer visited an old friend, Hugo, who ran a scrapyard on the mainland. Ever seen a black Range Rover, tinted windows, plates ending in 459? Hugo rubbed his chin. "Yeah, came in 2 nights ago. Some men tried to scrap it, but it didn't look right." He pointed to a covered area. Tarryer's pulse quickened as he stepped toward the SUV. The glove box was still intact. Inside was the envelope, sealed, unmarked. He tore it open. Inside was a flash drive and a handwritten note. "If I disappear, it wasn't by force. Don't trust anyone, not even my father." He barely had time to digest it before a loud bang echoed. Gunshots. Men in black were at the gate. "Run!" Hugo screamed. Taryer grabbed the flash drive and fled to the back fence, his lungs burning. He was no longer just a suspect. He was being hunted. Taryer waited until nightfall before slipping out of the abandoned warehouse. He had barely stepped into the alley when a shadow detached itself from the wall. A gaunt man in a tattered suit stepped forward, eyes darting nervously. "They're watching you, mechanic," he whispered, thrusting a crumpled envelope into Tarryer's hand. "Don't trust the police. They want you to disappear." Before Taryer could ask who he was, the man vanished into the night. Inside the envelope was a photograph. Zara. standing with a group of men in military uniform. One of them had his arm wrapped around her waist. On the back was scrawled, "Not everything is what it seems." Z is playing both sides. Terrier's stomach turned. Who was Zara really? Why had she looked so terrified in that picture? More importantly, why were government men involved in her disappearance? Tarrier had stumbled into something far bigger than a missing girl. Desperate for answers, Tarrier headed to Victoria Island, the address scribbled faintly in the envelope. The area was far above his world. Glass towers, private security, and wealth so thick it choked the air. He posed as a delivery man to sneak into the compound listed. But inside the lavish mansion, he didn't find Zara. Instead, he found walls covered in surveillance photos of himself. Shocked, he realized he was being watched for weeks before the breakdown ever happened. One photo showed him asleep under a bridge. Another, fixing a car in the market. Someone had been tracking him. Then he heard a soft voice behind him. "You weren't supposed to find this." Tarrier spun around, only to see a figure in a red mask raise a silencer. A muffled gunshot rang out, and the world tilted violently. Pain exploded in Terrier's shoulder as he crashed through a glass table, shards slicing his skin. The masked figure approached, gun steady. "You should have stayed in the gutter," they sneered. But just as the killer raised a weapon again, the door burst open. A young woman tackled the attacker, shouting, "Run!" Tarrier bolted, bleeding and confused, down a side alley. The woman followed. Her name was Reby, a freelance investigative journalist who'd been tailing the oil magnate's family. She had been following Zara's story, suspecting human trafficking hidden under political donations. "Zara's not missing," she revealed. "She's hiding from her father, and you're the perfect scapegoat." Tarrier staggered under the weight of her words. Could he trust Reby, or was she another piece in the web? Reby drove them to a hidden shack near Betagree Beach where she kept her equipment. Terrier's shoulder was a mess, but she patched it up roughly. As the waves crashed outside, Reby showed him video clips from Zara's secret vlog, a series of confessions hidden under a fake fashion channel. In the videos, Zara accused her father of laundering money for arms dealers and forcing her into arranged meetings with foreign politicians. In one clip, Zara whispered, "If anything happens to me, it wasn't Tarrier, it was my father. Or worse, my uncle, General Musa." Tarrier felt his world narrow. These people could erase entire villages and blame it on fuel tankers. He realized that every second he stayed alive was a rebellion. But as dawn broke, gunshots shattered the silence outside. Soldiers were approaching fast. Reby grabbed her laptop. "We run now, or we don't run at all." They barely escaped the burning shack, diving into a narrow creek path where Reby's contact awaited in a small boat. The contact was blind in both eyes but navigated the water with eerie precision. "They call me Baba Silence," he muttered, "and I've helped ghosts escape men like Musa for 20 years. As they drifted through the hidden marshes, Baba Silence shared a chilling revelation. Zara had staged her own disappearance, but something went wrong. She discovered a secret too dangerous, one that involved not only her father and uncle, but also a presidential candidate. A plan was in motion to fake a terror attack and blame a rebel group, and Zara had the proof. "If you find her, don't ask questions. Just run," Baba warned. But before they could dock, the sound of helicopters thundered overhead. Searchlights pierced the darkness. Tarrier looked at the sky and whispered, "Zara, what the hell have you done?" The boat capsized as bullets shredded the night air. Tarrier and Reby dove into the muddy creek, holding their breaths while the soldiers scanned with spotlights. Baba Silence was gone, either captured or killed. Terrier's heart pounded as he emerged behind tall reeds, gasping for breath. The water stung his wounds, and Reby dragged him to the far bank. From there, they stumbled into a narrow fishing village. There was no time to rest. The whole country had seen Terrier's face on the news, wanted for the kidnapping and possible murder of Zara Barkerere. Reby hacked into a secure communication channel, using a device from Baba Silence. What she found chilled them. The general had declared a national manhunt. "They're labeling you a terrorist," she said quietly. "This isn't just about Zara anymore. They're using you to cover something far worse." They found shelter in a church run by an aging priest who owed Reny a favor. While Reny slept, Tarja watched one of Zara's encrypted vlogs again. In it, she held up an old wristwatch and tapped it 3 times. This is the key. If you're seeing this, I've already run out of time. She looked scared, almost fragile. Reny woke and gasped. That's her father's military-issued watch. She must have stolen it. After some digital forensics, they discovered the watch held a hidden drive. Inside were damning files, lists of arms deals, oil shipment reroutes, and a plan titled Operation Night Vale. At the bottom of the folder was a video showing Zara with a man Tarja recognized, Inspector Benga, the officer who first questioned him. He was part of it all along. Tarja whispered, "I trusted him." Rage surged in his chest, but it was short-lived. The priest rushed in, whispering, "They've found you." They fled to Makoko, the floating slum city on stilts. Here, Reny's cousin ran an underground radio station. The air reeked of fuel and fish, and the water carried whispers of secrets. In a hidden room above the shack, they broadcast parts of Zara's vlogs using Reny's hack signal, breaking the government firewall. But hours later, the signal was jammed. The radio shack exploded minutes after they escaped. The government had activated a digital lockdown. Anyone caught helping Tarja would be arrested or worse. The noose was tightening. "They'll kill her if they find her," Reny said. "She has too much on them." They had one choice left. Find Zara before the government did. The only lead was a childhood friend she mentioned in her vlog. Someone who knew her before the politics and the lies. Tarja clenched his fists. Let's find the girl who knew Zara before she vanished. A 14-hour bus ride brought them to Kano, a dusty northern city where the sun scorched the earth. Posing as journalists, they tracked down Aisha, a schoolteacher who once shared a dorm with Zara during her short stint at a northern girls' college. Aisha was cautious, but eventually opened up. Zara always wanted to run. She said her life was built on lies. But she wasn't running from enemies, she was running from herself. Aisha handed them an old diary Zara left behind. Inside were cryptic poems, sketches of strange symbols, and repeated mentions of a place called Eagle's Fall. Reny's eyes widened. That's a safe house. I've heard rumors. It's where whistleblowers go to disappear. The final page had a date, 3 days from now. Something was going to happen. But just as they prepared to leave, armed men burst into the compound. They weren't soldiers. They were mercenaries. The compound erupted in chaos. Gunfire echoed through the dry air as Tarja and Reny ducked behind a broken wall. Aisha screamed as a bullet grazed her arm, and Reny dragged her toward the back exit. "They're not here to arrest us," she gasped. "They're here to clean up the story." Tarja fought off on the attackers, grabbing his weapon and firing wildly to clear a path. They barely made it to a waiting car Reny had stashed outside. Aisha sobbed in the back seat, while Reny drove like a demon through the burning streets. As they sped out of Kano, Reny spoke between gritted teeth. "They're using mercs now. That means the government's officially disavowed any connection. We're running out of time." Tarja looked at the diary again. "If Zara's going to Eagle's Fall, then we need to be there before they are." But the road ahead would not just lead them to Zara. It would uncover a betrayal that would shake Terrier's soul. The journey to Eagle's Fall was treacherous. Deep in the Joss Plateau, the road twisted through rocky terrain and narrow cliffs. Only those who truly wanted to disappear came here. Tarja or Reny, the injured Aisha, drove in silence, haunted by what they had seen. When they arrived at the small settlement nestled in the hills, it looked abandoned, but an old woman met them at the gate. "You're not the first to seek her," she said in a rasp. "But if you want to survive, you must listen and obey." Inside, they were led to a hidden underground room lined with monitors and communication gear. On one screen, Zara appeared, live. She was thinner, paler, but her voice was steady. "Tarja, if you found this place, I never meant for you to be involved. But it's too late now. They'll kill you to erase me." Then she said something that froze his heart. "My father already knows I'm here." Reny traced Zara's signal to another village a few kilometers away. She suspected Zara had pre-recorded the message and moved, staying one step ahead. But someone else had arrived faster. General Musa himself. Through intercepted chatter, they learned the military convoy was sweeping to the region under the guise of a security operation. The old woman revealed the truth. Eagle's Fall was once a hideout for war survivors and whistleblowers from the Niger Delta conflict. Now it was compromised. Taryr wanted to run to Zara immediately, but the old woman stopped him. She has to make the choice. If you show up too early, she'll disappear forever. But the clock was ticking, and Musa's men were already burning villages nearby to flush her out. Taryr clenched his fists. Then we'll burn the truth brighter than their lies. Reny uploaded another wave of Zara's confessions to a dark web mirror site, bypassing firewalls. This time, the files included voice memos from her father, admitting to funding arms deals with stolen oil profits. The post went viral. Social media exploded. Citizens began demanding answers. But retaliation came fast. Drone strikes hit Eagle's Fall just as Taryr and Aisha got Zara's last known location. The blast sent fire through the hills. Screams echoed in the caves. As they fled through underground tunnels, Reny was separated from them by falling debris. Taryr screamed for her, but only silence answered. Now alone with Aisha, he had no choice. He had to reach Zara, if she was still alive, and end this madness. But as they stepped out into the smoke-filled valley, Taryr saw something he never expected. Zara, walking toward her with her hands up and a gun strapped to her thigh. Zara looked different, battle-hardened, eyes hollowed by guilt. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered, but her voice cracked. "I'd drag you into hell." Taryr didn't care. "I came to get you out." But then she dropped the bombshell. Zara had orchestrated the kidnapping. It was supposed to be staged, a media stunt to expose my father. But when I ran, the wrong people got involved. Real mercenaries, real bodies, and now they want me dead. She handed him a hard drive. This is the last of the evidence. Bank accounts, shell companies, the president's signature. Before he could process it all, gunfire erupted. General Musa's forces had found him. Zara and Taryr ran, dodging bullets. Aisha was shot in the leg and screamed in pain. As Taryr pulled her to safety, Zara stayed behind, covering them with fire. Then, a grenade rolled near her feet. The explosion tore through the air. Taryr roared her name, smoke choking his lungs. When the dust cleared, Zara was gone. No body, just blood and scorched earth. For a moment, time stood still. Aisha sobbed quietly, her hand clutching the drive Zara had given them. They barely escaped through the cliffs, hearts shattered. In a hidden hut, Reny reappeared, bloodied but alive. "Where's Zara?" she asked. Taryr could only shake his head. Reny took the drive and connected it to her system. This is enough to bring them all down. But Taryr didn't care about justice anymore. Not tonight. He stared into fire and whispered, "She gave her life to stop them. I won't let it be for nothing." The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. And deep in the shadows, Zara was still alive. Taryr couldn't shake the feeling that Zara was still alive. The blood trail near the explosion site wasn't fatal. Reny confirmed his suspicion when she decrypted a hidden signal embedded in the hard drive. It was a live ping, a location beacon activated post-blast, bouncing off satellite towers near the Benin border. "She left this for us," Reny said. "She knew we'd come looking." Taryr's eyes lit up with new fire. "We go tonight." But Aisha warned, "That area is crawling with Black Cobra mercenaries. If she's there, she's either bait or prisoner." They packed quickly and left under the cover of night. As they crossed the river, the wind carried whispers through the trees. Every step forward felt like walking into a trap. Still, Taryr pressed on. He had nothing left to lose. The jungle swallowed them whole. No roads, no signs, just instinct and a weak signal. They reached a deserted cocoa plantation, overrun by vines and ruin. Inside, they found signs of recent occupation, footprints used bullet casings, and a bloody scarf that once belonged to Zara. Then came the ambush. Masked gunmen circled them, weapons raised. Taryr stood protectively in front of Reny and Aisha. A familiar voice echoed through the trees. "You always were too stubborn, boy." Inspector Benga stepped out, dressed in mercenary black. Zara is a loose end, and you're just collateral. Reny lunged for her gun, but was tackled. Tarrier fought wildly, but was overpowered. As they were tied and blindfolded, Benga whispered, "You're going to deliver a message for us." Bound and bruised, Tarrier was dragged to a small concrete bunker turned recording studio. Benga shoved him in front of a camera. "Read the script," he barked, "or they'll die." On the screen was a government-prepared message, a confession blaming foreign terrorists, absolving the general, and branding Zara as mentally unstable. But as the camera rolled, Tarrier made a choice. He ignored the script. "My name is Tarrier," he said, blood on his lips. "I am not a terrorist. I am a mechanic." And the woman, they say, kidnapped herself. She risked everything to expose the truth. He spilled everything. Names, operations, bank records, and most damning of all, Zara's proof of her father's role in political assassinations. Benga's face turned pale. Reny had secretly rerouted the stream. The confession went viral in real time, and the country erupted. Protests ignited across Lagos and Abuja. Students marched. Journalists demanded answers. International news picked up the stream, and political pressure mounted on General Musa. But back in the jungle, Tarrier and the others remained prisoners, until a miracle happened. In the dead of night, a rebel group calling themselves a Covenant stormed the compound, led by a woman with a scarred face and defiant eyes. She took one look at Tarrier and smiled. "You must be the man she wouldn't shut up about," the woman said. "Zara's alive. Barely, but alive." Tarrier's knees nearly gave way. The woman, codenamed Nyoka, revealed Zara had been rescued by the Covenant days earlier and was recovering in a hidden medical unit. "She's been waiting for you," Nyoka added. "But we have one final mission." They reached the hidden valley as dawn broke. Nestled beneath the cliffs was a makeshift medical camp, and inside a canvas tent, lying weak but alive, was Zara. Tarrier ran to her side, tears in his eyes. "I thought I lost you." She smiled faintly. "You almost did." She touched his face gently. "You should have walked away." He shook his head. "You gave me something worth running toward." Reny watched from the doorway, holding back tears. Aisha hugged Nyoka, finally allowed herself to believe they'd made it, but there was no time for peace. Zara sat up, her eyes hardening. "My father isn't backing down. He's rallying rogue generals for a final purge. We stop him now, or Nigeria falls into darkness." Tarrier took her hand. "Then let's finish this together." In a candlelit war room inside the valley, maps sprawled across the table. Zara pointed to 3 key targets: oil rigs used as offshore money laundering hubs, a warehouse storing hard copy documents, and a private airstrip in Calabar where her father planned his escape. "This is where we cut the head off the snake," she said. Nyoka led the Covenant in planning simultaneous strikes, with Tarrier, Reny, and Aisha assigned to the Calabar mission. But the danger was greater than ever. The president had issued orders: shoot Zara on sight. As they prepared to move, Tarrier pulled Zara aside. "When this is over, I don't want you to disappear again." She stared at him, her eyes full of storm and sorrow. "If I survive, I'll never run again. I promise." They sealed it with a kiss. Under heavy fog, the Calabar team crept toward the private airstrip. Armed guards patrolled the runway, and a gleaming jet idled on the tarmac. Inside, General Musa and Zara's father waited, prepping for escape. Aisha cut the lights. Reny jammed communication. Tarrier crawled under the fence, disabling the fuel line. Just as they were about to breach the jet, alarms rang out. They'd been spotted. Gunfire lit up the night. Tarrier took a hit to the arm, but pressed forward. Reny shot the engine, grounding the plane. As Musa attempted to flee, Zara herself descended from the ridge, rifle raised. "Daddy," she called out. Her father turned, stunned. "You taught me everything I know about power. Now I use it against you." Then she pulled the trigger. The bullet struck her father in the leg, dropping him. Tarrier tackled Musa, who fought like a demon, until Aisha shot him through the shoulder. The scene was chaos. Sirens blaring, smoke rising, betrayal thick in the air. Zara stood over her father, tears streaming down her face. All this death, all this blood, and for what? He looked up, pain and pride in his eyes. To make Nigeria strong. You made it bleed, she replied coldly. The Covenant streamed the entire confrontation live. Zara handed over documents and passwords to the authorities. Reny hacked into presidential servers, exposing internal corruption that reached the highest levels. By sunrise, headlines roared. Oil magnate arrested in corruption ring. General Musa captured. Whistleblower Zara redeemed. But the cost was visible in every wound, every tear. Weeks passed. Zara testified before an international tribunal. Her father was sentenced to life in prison. General Musa died in custody. Suspiciously, the president resigned, replaced by a reformist coalition. Taria was offered a reward, even a position in the government, but he declined it all. I just want to fix engines, he said simply. He opened a small garage in Lekki. Fugitive auto repair, a nod to the man he once was. Zara visited one evening. Her body was still healing, but her spirit was stronger than ever. I've been offered a post in the UN anti-corruption team, she said, but I had to see you first. Taria smiled. So you're running again? Not this time, she whispered, and kissed him. The garage buzzed with laughter and music. Kids from the neighborhood watched Taria work, fascinated by the man who took on giants and lived to tell the tale. Reny had started a news channel. Aisha taught martial arts to girls in Makoko. Zara, well, she was building something global. But on quiet nights, Taria would stare at the stars above Lagos and remember the fire, the betrayal, the chase through shadows. The kind of love that nearly killed him, but also set him free. Zara walked in one evening with grease on her hands. "New mechanic?" she teased. He laughed. "Always." The past may have been built on lies, but the future? It purred like a freshly tuned engine, ready for the road. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Kindly share, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more stories like this.